Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about a type of hyperpigmentation that is rarely talked about in videos online by content creators and rarely mentioned by dermatologists who make videos online. I'm going to call this type of hyperpigmentation diffused hyperpigmentation. I am giving it myself a specific word because I'm not aware of a specific word that exists in the medical field. The reason I call it diffused is because it is different from the type of hyperpigmentation that we often talked about that focuses more on dark spots, sunspots, on melasma. It focuses more on spots that you can clearly identify. And when I talk about diffused hyperpigmentation, I'm talking about contrasts on your skin which are not dark spots. Although I said that this type of hyperpigmentation is rarely mentioned by content creators and dermatologists online, I often read people talk about this type of hyperpigmentation in comment sections on the internet, on different platforms, but also with real people that I meet in my everyday life. That is something that we talk about. And very often what comes up is people complaining that their face is much darker than their body. And it's not only darker, but the complexion is dull and sometimes grayish. Or people are complaining that the discoloration on their face is too strong with darker areas and lighter areas, but without talking specifically about dark spots, which can easily be identified. It's more like your complexion is not even because the pigmentation is not dispersed evenly on your skin. If you've ever had diffused hyperpigmentation, I know you understand exactly what I'm talking about. This type of hyperpigmentation can affect anyone, but it is more common among people who have darker skin complexions. And later in the video, I will explain why it is the case. Now, let me be clear from the beginning of this video. What I call here diffused hyperpigmentation has nothing to do with having a simple tan or having a natural deep complexion. Some people genetically have a skin complexion that is all over from their face and their body completely even, and that is normal to them. But since all of us have our faces exposed to sun exposure every day, we tend to have our face skin complexion that is darker than our body, even in the winter, and even if you wear a sunscreen every day, all day, because it is also a normal and common reaction from our body. Our skin is not all meant to behave exactly the same. So just because your skin complexion does not react exactly the same as someone else doesn't mean that there is a problem. But as I said in the introduction, what can be problematic is when your face becomes much darker than your body to the point that the complexion is dull, very uneven, grayish, and you can really tell that it's not about tanning and it's not about having a deeper complexion. It's about your skin, your entire face being hyperpigmented to the point that it can make you uncomfortable to go out without foundation. There are a few content creators on this platform who have shared their journey regarding this type of hyperpigmentation, but I feel that in those type of videos something is often missing because very often we talk about what can be done to correct this and we forget about the causes that can be avoided to avoid having diffused hyperpigmentation, or at least to minimize this type of hyperpigmentation. very often we talk about the type of hyperpigmentation which are defined by dark spots, which can happen when your skin has been injured by a mosquito bite or inflamed by blemishes, by acne, or dark spots that can create over time due to long time sun exposure. I'm not going to talk about all of these in this video. And I'm going to focus on the main causes that create diffused hyperpigmentation. And when you understand those causes, you realize that there are things that you can do to prevent this issue or to minimize this issue before buying or using any product. In general, when we have darker skin complexions, we tend to be more prone to hyperpigmentation. This dark complexion comes from the fact that we all have melanin, which are created by melanocytes cells. But the production of melanin is different when you have darker skin and when you have a lighter skin complexion. When you have a darker skin complexion, your melanocytes is much more active, which is a good thing because it produces more effective melanin when it comes to protect your skin from the sun, because we produce more melanin with darker pigments, which are also larger, that protects us better from sun exposure. But at the same time, if our skin gets inflamed, our melanocytes will hyperreact by producing even more pigment, which will lead to more hyperpigmentation, and any type of inflammation or trauma or injuries can cause that. Before I go back to this drawing and talk about the different causes, I want to tell you a little bit of my story so you'll understand how I came about being interested about this type of hyperpigmentation. So as a kid, I was a lucky kid with no skin issues. I didn't even have sensitive skin at the time. And when I became a teenager, I got acne, as many teenagers, unfortunately. And with the acne and the blemishes, of course, came post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, meaning the dark spots, but also what I call in this video diffused hyperpigmentation, where my face will become much darker than the rest of my body. And it was not my darker face when I would get a tan, which is a beautiful deep complexion. It was more like a darker, but at the same time dull complexion that I really didn't like. And at the time I had no understanding of what it was, because I have 3 sisters and they did not go through the same thing. But as I grew up, I remember one day my mom came back from the dermatologist for herself, and in that session she met a dermatologist that told her that her skin was sensitive, and he also told her that when you have dark skin complexion, your skin can be sensitive to fragrances and essential oils and alcohol and harsh chemical, and as a result can hyperpigment with dark spots or with a darker complexion in general, or you can even create blemishes. And my mom told me that because she thought that maybe my acne was due to me having sensitive skin and using products with those type of ingredients. When she told me that, I was already an adult. I was 19. I didn't even think about my complexion first. I thought about my acne, and I did the best I could at the time to reduce the amount of fragrance in my skincare and alcohol, and that was really difficult to do it 25 years ago. But just by doing that and making the effort I could do at the time, I noticed less blemishes on my skin, and I noticed that my skin complexion was less dull. So that's really the moment I realized that my skin was sensitive and that things that I had on my skin could make my skin look worse. So the skincare products that you are using on your skin might be the cause of your diffused hyperpigmentation, or it can make it worse. Since then, I have read many articles or studies that also talk about that. And since irritation and inflammation are the main cause for this type of hyperpigmentation, it makes sense that ingredients which are the most known to cause irritation to the skin can create diffused hyperpigmentation. So I am talking about drying alcohol that we can find in skincare like alcohol denat or ethanol. You also have fragrances, which includes essential oils. And those two types of ingredients are ingredients that you can find in many skincare products, including sunscreens. And you can also find those ingredients in many makeup products, which is why in my videos I focused on products who do not contain those ingredients. I often mention that I avoid those ingredients because of my acne, but I often forget to mention that it is also because of diffuse hyperpigmentation, because I've noticed myself in the past the difference when I use products with those type of ingredients and when I don't, and there is a clear difference. The other type of products that you should pay attention to are products which are too strong for your skin. For instance, I will give as an example vitamin C, which contains the classical original vitamin C ingredient, which is ascorbic acid. This ingredient is well known to help brighten the skin and give a more even complexion to the skin. So that is the type of product that I should use because I always try to have a more even complexion. And actually, I did try L-ascorbic acid on my skin in the past, and my skin hated this ingredient. I did not understand at the time what was happening because nobody said at the time that vitamin C could be irritating to the skin. I had to learn about that the hard way because every time I used vitamin C on my skin complexion would get darker and dull very quickly. Now, I know that the reason for that is because in order to be effective, ascorbic acid has to be made in a formula with a very low pH. And in order to get results, you have to apply this very low pH on your skin every single day. And that is too much for my skin. Not only do I have a dark skin complexion, so my skin, as I explained, will hyperpigment easily when it gets inflamed, but also if you watch my videos, you know that my skin is very sensitive, so I probably react even more than most people with my complexion. Vitamin C can help people, but it can make your hyperpigmentation worse. So if you have sensitive skin, that is not a product that I can recommend you. And if you want to try it, pay attention to how your skin reacts to it. Because although everyone say that vitamin C is amazing, it's not amazing for everyone, especially if you have sensitive skin and a darker complexion. Another type of product that you have to be careful about are peeling or exfoliating products or exfoliating masks. Just like vitamin C, exfoliating acid products also comes in a low pH, but some exfoliating ingredients like glycolic acid, because they are made in tiny molecules, they tend to go deeper in your skin, so they can also irritate your skin. Some people use exfoliating products every day. Some people use exfoliating products once or twice a week, like myself. And you also have different concentration of exfoliating products. So my advice would be that if you want to try exfoliating acid, you should be careful and try lower concentration first and see how your skin reacts to it, especially if you want to use it daily. Now, if you use it once or twice a week like myself with masks, then you can try higher concentrations, and usually masks contains higher concentrations because you're only going to use it for a short amount of time, once or twice a week. And by doing that, you can see results on your skin when it comes to acne or when it comes to dark spots. But you have to be careful that not everyone can handle that. You have to try and see for yourself. But at least if you are warned about the consequences, you'll pay close attention to how your skin reacts if you choose to use those type of products. The other thing when it comes to skincare is that if you use certain ingredients, you have to use sunscreen because your skin can be more sensitized to the sun. The other problem with this is that you may be using the wrong sunscreen for your skin. And I'm giving here the example of one of La Roche-Posay sunscreen, which contains a high amount of alcohol. And as I said, alcohol, if you have sensitive skin, if you have dark skin, if you have both, can irritate your skin. Even if you don't feel anything, it may irritate your skin, and as a consequence, it can hyperpigment your face. And I've seen over the years many comments of people complaining that their sunscreen make their face looks darker. And if that is the case for you, the problem is not that you are using a sunscreen. The problem is the ingredients used in this sunscreen. Fragrance and alcohol, denat, and essential oils are the most common ingredients that can be problematic in a sunscreen, but it could be something else. Individually, we can be irritated or inflamed by many things. So if a sunscreen does not work for you, do not give up. Just try a different sunscreen, and maybe try a different sunscreen from a different brand, because you have more chance to get a different formula if you try a different brand. And on my channel, I have enough videos about different type of sunscreens that do not contain alcohol, essential oils, or fragrance for you to choose from. I'm sure you will find a sunscreen that can work for you. One thing I also noticed throughout those years was that my face complexion would get darker and dull more in the winter than in the summer, which contradicts what we hear a lot online when dermatologists very often focus almost only on sun exposure, although sun exposure is not the only thing that could damage your skin when it comes to complexion. For me, at the time, without the product that I'm using now, I could see a clear difference with my complexion in the winter and in the summertime. And in the summertime, before having a tan, my skin complexion would get lighter, more even, still darker than the rest of my body that does not see any sun. But the difference was not as big, and the complexion was not dull. And then when I would get a tan, I would get a deeper complexion all over, but my skin complexion was glowy and bright and not dull. So for me, there was definitely something in the winter that was happening, even if I was using the exact same skincare routine. That is something I did not understand at the time, but I understand it now. Because winter can also be a cause of diffused hyperpigmentation, especially when you have dark skin. And I don't know the entire science behind it, but common sense would be that we are meant to thrive in hot environment. I was born in Congo, in a tropical country, and I live in France. I currently live in Paris, so obviously the winter here has nothing to do than the weather in Congo. When it comes to winter and hyperpigmentation, there are actually papers who talk about what I noticed as a teenager and a young adult. And what is often emphasized in order to minimize that is to really protect your skin barrier by using a gentle cleanser and a good moisturizer for your skin type. That doesn't mean that it is enough, but it is a minimum requirement for your skin. I would say that if you have very dry skin, you could also add a humidifier in your home in order to help your skin being better moisturized and less irritated in the winter. The other thing that I didn't know in the past but that I know now is that pollution can also affect your skin tone. And as I said, if you have a darker complexion, in general, when our skin gets inflamed or irritated by anything, we tend to be more prone to hyperpigmentation as a reaction that our skin gives. So if you live in a polluted area, that can also be the cause for your hyperpigmentation. Obviously, I'm sure it's not easy to move on a countryside, so you have to look at things you can do with your products, and the best type of ingredients that you can use are antioxidants, which I am going to talk about later in this video. By doing all of that, you may think that doing that would be enough to prevent diffuse hyperpigmentation, and that might be the case for many people. For myself, when I did all of that, I saw a difference, but it was not enough to say that my skin complexion came back to normal. So the other element of all of this is genetics, because we are all different and our skin does not react the same to inflammation or irritation or the weather. So genetic is also a big component of it, and that is not something we can change. I said earlier that I have 3 sisters and none of them have this type of diffused hyperpigmentation. They didn't have this as teenagers. They still don't have this. Does not matter if it is winter time or not. But for my case, even when I try to do my best, I still have a level of hyperpigmentation that is too much. So after the prevention, what you can do is correction if you are still not satisfied with the results. And there are different ingredients that can be used when it comes to hyperpigmentation. When you listen to dermatologists, they talk about those different type of ingredients which act on the skin in different ways in order to minimize or prevent different type of hyperpigmentations. Now, dermatologists always say that this or that ingredients would be more effective for this or that type of hyperpigmentation, but it is in theory. If it was that simple, none of us would suffer from hyperpigmentation. So you have to try ingredients for yourself to know which one is going to help you, and very often brands also use several ingredients together in order to help you with different type of hyperpigmentations. So some ingredients are used as drugs, so they have been thoroughly studied and tested on people, and then others are recognized as useful by dermatologists, but they have not been studied as much. And then you also have ingredients which are marketed, studied, developed by brands like the brand Eucerin or Caudalie or SK2, and with those ingredients you can only trust the brands. And we know that brands can lie or can emphasize their results in order to sell more products. That does not mean that their ingredients do not work, but that means that obviously they are more questionable, and the only way to tell you if I think they work or not is to try the products myself or to know people who use their products with those specific ingredients. Regarding diffused hyperpigmentation, I've tried many ingredients, many products, so I'm going to tell you which one has been working the best for me. And very often in my videos, I make the mistake of saying that niacinamide is the first ingredient that has helped me minimize diffused hyperpigmentation. And actually, that is not the case. The first ingredient that has helped me has been developed by a brand, and it is the grapevine shoot extract developed by the brand Caudalie in their very popular serum. This product contains fragrance, and you know that I avoid fragrance as much as I can, but when I tried this product many years ago, the amount of fragrance-free skincare was very limited. So I tried this product, and that was the first time that I saw my skin complexion being more even overall, having less contrast. I was really happy with the result of this product. That's why I say that sometimes you have to try things for yourself. Because if I were to just review this product based on the marketing and on the star ingredient which has been developed by the brand, I would say that that is not the type of product I would try. But if I don't talk about the fragrance and just the product and the result, I saw a much even complexion while using this product. This product is sold to be effective on the overall complexion and also dark spots. I didn't see any difference on my dark spots, but I saw a difference on diffused hyperpigmentation. The only reason I stopped using it at the time was because it was too moisturizing for my skin that used to be very oily, and as a consequence my skin type became even oilier, which is not what you want when you have acne prone skin. But regarding the results, on diffused hyperpigmentation, the results were there. The second ingredient where I noticed a difference in my skin complexion is niacinamide. And I made a full video about niacinamide and explained in detail how I found out about this ingredient, how I started to use it on my skin. And I have been using it for several years now. I've tried different products, different concentration, and I can say that for myself, the concentration that works for me is from 5 to 10%. It might be irritating to the skin at 10%, but my skin reacted well with niacinamide at 5 and 10%. The only reason I'm not using 10% anymore is because I use other actives, so I don't want my skin to get irritated. But when I was not using any other active than niacinamide, I was using niacinamide 10% morning and night, and I had zero irritation. The product that I think is the best formulated and at a great price is the one from Geek and Gorgeous for the 10% concentration, and the other one that I like and that I use now is the 5% with Minimalist. And similar to Caudalie, what I see is an overall more even skin tone and brighter complexion, and my face, although it's still a bit darker than my body, which is normal, as I said earlier in the video, the difference is not that bad, and my complexion is not dull, as you can see in many videos where I don't use makeup. The third ingredient where I noticed a difference is azelaic acid. I've also made a video about azelaic acid very recently. Actually, it was my last video. And I've been using azelaic acid for many years as well. When I started to use azelaic acid for a while, I stopped using niacinamide to see how my skin would react by using azelaic acid on its own. And I saw the same result I noticed with niacinamide and the Caudalie product with their grapevine shoot extract. Those ingredients can have other benefits, but here I am focusing on the overall skin complexion. So if you want to know about the other benefits I get from these ingredients, please watch my detailed videos on niacinamide and azelaic acid. I tried several products with azelaic acid, and when I use the right product for my skin, I get similar result with 10% concentration or 15% concentration. The other product where I noticed a difference is a product that uses both niacinamide and azelaic acid, and this time it is a product from the brand Dr. Sam's. And with this product, as I explained in my previous video, I saw an overall brightening complexion, but I also noticed that my dark spot was also going away faster. But I'll talk more about that on another video where I will focus on dark spots. But azelaic and niacinamide mixed together also work for my skin, and my skin was not being more sensitive because those two ingredients were used together. I tried galactomyces, which is an ingredient that you can find in the SK2 essence. This ingredient has been first and mainly developed in Japanese skincare, and especially by the brand SK2. So just like Kodali, there is not such strong evidence around this ingredient because it's been developed and promoted mostly by the SK2 brand and later by South Korean or other Japanese brand. But despite that, I've tried the product myself and I see a great result with this when it comes to evening out my overall skin complexion. This ingredient can be found in other products, but because it is a natural type of ingredient, the problem with this is that from brand to another brand, the ingredient can be different. Since SK2 is the first brand who developed this ingredient, I'd rather, at least for now, stick with their product. In the full list of ingredients that can help you with hyperpigmentation, there is a category of ingredients that focuses on cell renewals in order to help us fight hyperpigmentation. In this category, there are chemical exfoliants and also tretinoid derivatives. I use exfoliating ingredients in my routine in form of masks, but for me it does not help with my diffused hyperpigmentation. It's just a boost in order to make my skin more glowy, more radiant, but in terms of evening out my skin tone, I don't see a benefit in the way I use exfoliating acids. The other ingredients are vitamin A derivative, and I've been using for those past couple of years products with vitamin A derivatives. The one I use are gram-active retinoids, which I've used with the brand Dr. Sam's. She has two products. I've used and tested both, and with both products I've seen an improvement regarding my diffused hyperpigmentation. The difficulty that I have to give a proper review regarding diffused hyperpigmentation and those ingredients and those products comes from the fact that I added those two products one at a time when I was already using products and ingredients that was already working regarding my diffused hyperpigmentation. So I did notice a difference. I did notice an improvement with my diffused hyperpigmentation, which was similar with both products, but I can't tell you what my results would be if I were to only use those products. I'm going to show you now other products which, in my opinion, have a huge potential to help with diffused hyperpigmentation, but I can't tell you the result on my skin because I was not able to use it, or I was not able to use it properly. For instance, there is this serum from the Korean brand Unicat who mixed niacinamide and tranexamic acid, and in my opinion it's a great idea to mix two ingredients that fight hyperpigmentation together. The only thing is that you have to find a product with two ingredients that works for you. I tried this product a few years ago. I quickly reviewed it on my channel, and unfortunately I couldn't talk about the results because this product broke me out. It was the first time for me to try tranexamic acid, so I think that my sensitive skin does not like this ingredient. So I can't tell you my final opinion, but in theory it's a great idea to mix niacinamide with another hyperpigmentation fighting ingredient because it is supposed to help niacinamide and the other ingredient to perform better. So that is also a product that you can try. Earlier I mentioned vitamin C. with the classic original ingredient, L-ascorbic acid. Many people are happy with L-ascorbic acid, although I can't use it because it's too irritating for my skin. So you have to be mindful about that. But I know people with darker skin complexion who use L-ascorbic acid and they have no issues with it. They have great results. My sister used the Timeless serum, and one of my best friend who is Filipino with tanned skin use the vitamin C from the brand Geek and Gorgeous. They use those products because I recommended them to them. I know that both have very resilient skin. They don't have sensitive skin, and both products work for them and they are very happy with their results. In the screen, I'm showing you two other products with vitamin C. Those products contain derivatives of vitamin C, which are not L-ascorbic acid. Those past few years, many brands have developed products with derivative of vitamin C because vitamin C is not easy to formulate. The derivatives that many brands use now don't have as much evidence, and I don't know anyone who have used them. I see people online being happy with it, but I haven't seen content creators that I trust doing proper reviews on those products. The good aspect of those derivatives is that they are supposed to be more gentle on the skin, they are supposed to be easier to tolerate, but at the same time, as I said, there is not much studies compared to the original vitamin C, which is L-ascorbic acid. So if you are interested in trying these derivatives, I gave you two examples which in my opinion seems to be well formulated, way better than other products I see online which are not well formulated at all. So these are options you can try. On the screen, I show you two other products, one from the brand Theramid and one from the brand Paula's Choice. What I think is interesting about them is that they use a combination of at least 3 hyperpigmentation fighting ingredients. So in theory, at least, they seem to be very interesting and they seem to have a good potential to help you with different type of hyperpigmentation, including diffused hyperpigmentation. One thing not to forget, as I said earlier, is that you have to be careful with what your skin can tolerate in terms of ingredient, but you also have to be careful with what your skin can tolerate when you use different products in your routine, because one product can be easy to tolerate on your skin, but if you use too much product and too much ingredients, that can also be too much for your skin. So it is important to use one product at a time and really take the time to see how your skin reacts to it before adding another product or new ingredients. And remember to pay attention to how your skin reacts when you add new products or new ingredients, because you can reach a threshold when it comes to your skin, when your skin can go from comfortable to irritating. Although prevention and the right skincare ingredients can help a lot, you should not be delusional with the result that you can get, because having a face that is darker than the body is normal and common for many people. So you should not expect to have a full, perfectly even skin tone with your face and your body like a filter. Because if that is your goal, you're going to be disappointed and looking for more and more products and ingredients to the point that you will probably at some point damage your skin. In the comment section, please let us know what are the ingredients or combination of ingredients or final products which have worked the best for you in order to get a more even skin complexion and in order to minimize what I call in this video diffused hyperpigmentation. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye.